Power Trading Hour with your host, David White. Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648 or internationally at 727-873-7618. Now, David White.
And welcome to another excellent edition of the Power Trading Hour. And as always, we come together at the appointed time.
The following takes place between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m.
So what do we have going on today? As I said in the update at 2 p.m., started talking about potential selling or buying climaxes from Wednesday's action. There's kind of the three bears theory that I follow for volume, and that is not quite enough, and so you kind of give it up right away. There's the kind of middle road where you can go a lot further because you didn't use all the energy up at once. And then there's the porridge that's just a little bit too hot. And you burn the roof of your mouth and you can't really taste anything. Well, certainly Wednesday last week was one of those days that did line up as what Wyckoff called a selling or a buying climax, and that is just everybody comes in at once and all the energy is just dissipated at the same time. Now, we had fun buying coming at the same time, and as I say, was it Barnum or Bailey who said, never give a sucker an even break? Well, they will always mark up stocks during fun buying. Those 401k suckers are not allowed to get in at any kind of decent price. So you generally get a fairly decent markup in the market. I do not think that we're going to do anything but kind of slide. As we talked about how markets can stumble up, I think we have the same kind of thing where we might have a very slow and deliberate slide lower into the Fed announcement a week from this Wednesday. Options have been pointing to being fairly weak. I didn't like the action, and I think it was, what is it? I don't read them, but I know a lot of people do. IBD had a thing where you always wanted to see some kind of continuation within 5 days. I always thought 3 days was much better. But we certainly didn't get any kind of continuation. In fact, we've got a sign here that we may have had a top, and many people may be stuck in at highs and unable to extract themselves, especially mentally, from everybody thinking that no one's going to sell until next year. You got it, every buyer's got to have a seller. Every seller's got to have a buyer, or you don't have a transaction. But it is tough. Now, we had all that volume. Then we have a few other things going on that I did want to get to. But let's get to the volume here real quick. It's not huge so far today, but it's kind of along the lines of what we had on Friday. Then we had a lot more volume in the last 30 minutes. So be interesting to see, especially today, about 4:15, 4:20, what the volume does come into. Some will sell for tax reasons. Yeah, but I mean, the big guys on Wall Street, that window's already closed for them. So there may be some smaller folks. You do get a lot of people selling the biggest dogs right before the end of the year if they don't think that they're going to come back in January. Of course, you've got to have that 30-day window where you can't buy and sell a stock. But I think a lot of people are exiting stage left fairly quickly. Anyway, we have broken the 4,000 level on the S&P cash. I don't think it's the end of the world before Christmas or the end of the year, but I think we could be heading back that way. And this may be one of those impulse waves that many traders talk about. And that's just that slow and deliberate move, either higher or lower. In this case, I suspect it could be lower into next year as the reality comes upon traders that a lot of the phases of grief that you get at highs continues on. trying to remember what those were. I know I've got them written down, but it's like the 7 stages of grief, isn't it? Something like that? I think it is. I think I got it somewhere. So there, that. Yeah, I'll remember what I did with it later. Anyway, so that's kind of it. We've got much bigger fish to fry, though. And, of course, that was the ISM numbers this morning, kind of put the nail in the coffin. The bond move, we had or do have a very big move, what I think is the blow-off top in the TLT. Let's go ahead and pull the chart up here. But it went way higher than it should have for forecast rates. And I think a lot of that was just everybody being way too short. We got in the gap down that goes back to the 22nd of September. You came down with about 29 million shares. You got into that with about 24 million shares on Friday, which is better than most people thought, and actually 53 million shares. And this was when everybody was reading the Fed's comments, I think, ridiculously bullish for what they actually were. Don't have a lot of volume yet, but my guess is that they just ran all the shorts out the last couple of days, and now we're getting ready to probably pull back to that 95 level as people start waking up to a dark and sinister reality. So that's part of it. What else do we have here? Bond move, dollar move, these are all kind of linked together. Gold move. What I really wanted to talk about was the bond, Russian oil ban. Haven't seen much about it, but I have to say I haven't watched any TV at all. But certainly, most people, or at least from what I've seen in print and on the web, has been pretty light on on what's happening with Russian oil. But today is the first day of that. A handful of things going on that are very interesting from a website that I check out from time to time, and that is called freightwaves.com. And they have a very interesting take on what's going on. There were a lot of tankers that were sitting idle, and they have all been kind of called back. And there's a thing called the shadow fleet, where Russia may be taking these other ships and taking the Russian oil off of it out in the middle of the Gulf or something, and then taking the other ship in and then saying, hey, no Russian oil here, nothing. Do have to say that none of the Russian oil for the ban or boycott or whatever you want to call it involves after it's been distilled. So if you're talking about gas or diesel out of this stuff, once they do it, doesn't matter. We'll be back in a minute.
Currencies, commodities, and bond markets are as important as ever right now with how they're driving the volatility in equity markets across the globe, which is why it's a great time to try out Teddy Kegstad's Tiger Forex Report. Teddy Kegstad breaks down the Forex markets every Monday using his 30-plus years of experience as a trading veteran of futures, Forex, stocks, and options. Teddy releases his weekly Tiger Forex Report every Monday morning with coverage of all the major currency pairs, including the dollar index, the euro dollar, pound dollar, dollar Swiss, dollar yen, as well as many more, and he also has weekly coverage of the crude oil market and the 30-year T-bonds, as they both influence Forex markets tremendously. When you sign up for the Tiger Forex Report, you also gain instant access to Teddy's 60-minute webinar archive he just hosted, Forex Strategies and Fundamentals, What is Behind the Tiger Forex Report. For all the details and to start your 30-day Tiger Forex Report subscription today, visit the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
Are you grinding in the market, but seeing little to no return? Or are you a successful trader, simply looking to make your job a little easier? Learn to take the path of least resistance with David White's powerful trading newsletter. David White is an accomplished trader whose deep understanding of technology and the markets allows him to consistently find and share winning trades. Support and resistance define the ranges in which stocks trade. By understanding these trading ranges, David White is able to find the path of least resistance. David White's trading newsletter, The Path of Least Resistance, is delivered daily before the markets open to make every trading day an easy win. Visit TFNN.com today and subscribe to David White's Ultimate Trading Newsletter for $119 a month and try all of our newsletters risk-free with our 30-day money-back guarantee. Take the path of least resistance at TFNN, educating investors. Are you looking for a way to consistently add winning trades to your portfolio? Tom O'Brien is here to help. Tom O'Brien has been successfully trading markets for over 30 years. A frequent contributor to TD Ameritrade Network and CNBC, Tom O'Brien founded TFNN over 20 years ago to help educate investors just like you. Tom's daily market newsletter, Market Insights, is published every morning when the markets open to give you the competitive informational edge you need to succeed. These newsletters are packed full of Tom's advanced technical analysis and are geared to deliver comprehensive strategies for a successful portfolio. Get Tom O'Brien's newsletter, Market Insights, today and try all of our products and newsletters 30 days risk-free with our money-back guarantee at TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-873-7618.
Anyway, back to Russian oil. Kind of interesting the way that this was all done. Mostly a cap on how much the Russians can actually charge, which is driving down crude prices for the moment. But again, very interesting discussion of these shadow fleets of a lot of these tankers. The average, until last year, the average age of these tankers was 15 years. And in the last 3 months, it's gone to 20. So they've dusted off anything that would float and looked like they've put it to work for the Russians. And, of course, both the Iranians and the Venezuelans have been using this idea of taking the ship from somewhere where it's not supposed to come and transferring the oil out at sea and then coming back in. Some of the other ways that they're trying to nix Russian oil is not allow ships in that don't have insurance, and if they are Russian-flagged ships, which is the only thing actually let in right now for Russian ports. In fact, a lot of the Mideastern areas have said that you've got to have kind of independent insurance now in case you run aground or get attacked or anything else, to make sure that you can pay for the disaster that would come with one of these. Turkey's the first to actually kind of ban any Russian flagged ship and demand insurance if you come within 150 miles of their borders. So it's starting to heat up in the short term, probably going to make oil a little bit cheaper. In the long term, best cure for a low price is a low price. And we're probably going to have some kind of huge snapback when everything works its way through. But at the moment, a lot of ships at sea and a lot of shenanigans for getting the Russian oil out. And I guess they really don't care if the Russians ship the oil, as long as they don't get as much money as they used to for it. So we shall see. 877-927-6648. Let's do a little history and move on.
Then it's all just a little bit of history repeating.
On this day in 1999, the domain name business.com sells for $7.5 million. At that time, it was the most expensive domain name sold in history and still ranks, or did rank, in the top 10 up until a couple of years ago. What do we have going on here? Well, certainly, I do have it, don't I? I think I do. I do. And that is the most expensive now. Voice.com sold in 2019 for $30 million. Sex.com, $13 million. Tesla.com, most people don't know that they fought for that for almost 10 years, ended up paying $11 million for that. Hotels.com, $11 million. Fund.com, just under 10. Porn.com, 9.5. Porno.com, 8.8. Facebook, actually FB.com, $8.5 million, and we.com, $8 million. So, a little money in a domain name if it ends in a .com. I got to sneeze. And we're back, not sneezing. Anyway, yeah, I got a few emails here, so we'll get to those probably when we get back from the next thing. Anyway, a little bit of money in that, but we shall move on and persevere. Was that? I had a question about an indicator that someone asked me. And there's a word that people use in technical analysis, mostly in charting. It's called repainting. And this individual that emailed me fell prey to this huge, I'll just call it a fraud, because what it would do is look at back data and then adjust its parameters for it. And of course, if you have an indicator that indicates something today, it really can't know about tomorrow. But if you got something that is called a repainting, it will try to figure out highs and lows, and in retrospect will look very good. But it's all a mirage, because any type of indicator that works on data before and in past repaints it or changes it based on what's happening later, probably mostly a fraud. Now, there's some out there that why you might think they have problems with repainting aren't. The zigzag charts are kind of that way, some of the others. But a great deal of stuff where the people say that is 100% trades are positive, you can almost double dog dare bet them that what they're doing is some kind of repainting algorithm that goes back and just really fits the data to what's happened today. 877-927-6648. And we'll look at a few things. A lot of China news moving everything. Apple, of course, kind of came off their highs. May end up with an even more bearish candle by the end of the day. But it looks to me like it's going to 140 for Christmas. So a little bit of coal in the stockings of Apple folks, and of course, little of this started late in the day. But it looked to me like they just tried to run everybody out first thing, and then the stock actually turned. There's just not that much there in this, and they finally have admitted that, well, maybe they've got a bit of a reputational issue dealing with, Chinese who are making some of their parts with slave labor. Even though they try to ignore it and turn the other way and say, I can't hear you, blah, 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 I can't hear you. I think they finally got to the point where a lot of people know that they were just whistling past Dixie. I do remember that from the history books how much flack that IBM took for working with the Nazis before the Second World War. Maybe not quite there, mostly because our media now. But I would also say that it really took a lot of deaths for everybody to start figuring out just how complicit IBM was during right before the Second World War. I think maybe some of these companies like Apple, maybe the NBA, probably starting to wake up to the fact that if you lay down with some dogs, you're probably going to get some fleas. We'll be back in a minute.
If you want to take advantage of this sector, now is the time to subscribe to my Gold Report. The Gold Report is a comprehensive look at the metals sector as well as the markets that move gold, which is the currency and bond markets. New subscribers get a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. Every Monday morning, I publish the Gold Report with coverage of gold, silver, bonds, the XAU, HUI, GDX, as well as more than 30 different mining equities. To see for yourself the types of profitable trades that are recommended within the Gold Report, sign up now by visiting TFNN.com. Don't miss out on the next great gold trade. Sign up today.
Sharpening your skills as an investor is like getting better at playing a musical instrument. You have to practice, sure, but you also need excellent instruction from experts. At TFNN, you'll get advice and guidance from the authority in technical market analysis. And it's not just dry, tedious text either. TFNN airs live financial content streamed live on TFNN.com and TFNN's YouTube channel with Tiger TV, live every market day from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern. For free. Each host is an experienced trader and gives their take on the market while taking calls and questions live from around the world. From the moment the market opens until the closing bell sounds, Tiger TV has 8 different shows with expert hosts to help you make the right moves with your money. Watch online at TFNN.com or on TFNN's YouTube channel and become the investor you were born to be. TFNN, educating investors.
TFNN is excited about our new software charting program, The Art of Timing the Trade Charts. In collaboration with Tom O'Brien and using his best-selling book, The Art of Timing the Trade, Your Ultimate Trading Mastery System, David White has programmed an outstanding piece of software that will complement any trader's methodology. Using this first-of-its-kind program, The Art of Timing the Trade Charts allows you to scan thousands of stocks for Fibonacci formation setups, including Gartley's, ABC's, butterflies, and much more. The Art of Timing the Trade Charts is designed to help you when scouring the markets for stocks just beginning to form the trading patterns that many investors spend days, weeks, or even months searching to find. And right now, we're offering licenses available at only $79 a month. We are so confident that you're going to love this new charting software that will even give you a 30-day unconditional money-back guarantee. Don't miss out on this incredible new piece of software. Get your copy of The Art of Timing the Trade Charts today by visiting TFNN.com.
This segment is brought to you by Thinkorswim. For more information, just click the Thinkorswim banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
And as we get back, we'll look at a few more charts. But anyway, it's starting to look like a reversal candle on Apple today. We'll see how that closes. We'll look at Tesla here. Same kind of thing. They're having shutdowns, but I don't think anybody should be surprised. All the lockdown stuff is really starting to hurt demand in China. Not a big day for a candle out here, but not bad either. Certainly lighter volume than the up day of the 30th. So you're coming back into what should be pretty good support, about 182.50. So don't see much there. Again, we were talking a great deal about Russia and somehow some of the energy issues there going to be problematic. UNG, just a lot of people thinking that there's not going to be any great demand. You do have already 10.4 million shares and breaking the low of October 21st with 8 million shares. So that does look fairly interesting. I think there could be quite the snapback on this, but you may have 2 or 3 more days before that happens. Again, you need some miserable winter weather to get that thing off the floor. What else do we have here? Question about CCJ. Again, anything related to Russia right now or China is starting to see kind of lower prices. You had this gap down on the buying of all the old stuff from Westinghouse and their nuclear division. I think long term it's fairly good. In the short term, though, nobody wants people taking on more debt in what's going to be at least a recession, and we can hope that our elected leaders don't push it into a depression by continuing to spend a lot. But that may be something, a bridge too far for them. Another question for Micron. This is probably the best bellwether for the SMHs. It doesn't right now look that bad. You had the huge day on the 30th of November, up on 31 million shares, 31.5 million shares. Now, actually, this doesn't look too bad on about 7.2 million shares right now. But, I think it could, even then, could still drift down to this $49 level at the previous low, where you do have this untested low from September 23rd. And that may set early next year a low for us to go back and look at. Question to take a look at Planeteer. I've talked about this one a long time and saying that very hard to figure out what's going on inside this company. It is much like Booz Hamilton that way. They could tell you, but then they'd have to kill you because everything is double top secret. But a lot of these stocks like this are ones you really want to watch the first couple of days of next year, because these things could be about as washed out as you could ever wish they would get washed out. You don't have a lot of volume so far today, but again, can there be a little bit of tax selling in these? There can, but generally when they get all washed out, may not be a profitable trade, but certainly the risk reward is getting darn good on this company. But I do digress. And yes, tickets are still available to the TFNN Awards night at Christmas Eve down at the Vinoy. Just make sure to write your name on your phone number and to see it, send it to TFNN for tickets. Okay, what else do we have? Take a quick look at the usual suspects. I will. Thank you, James. We looked at Apple already. Let's take a look at Microsoft. Please check my text. See here. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Just looking at Microsoft here, as I do digress. You got some decent volume, kind of pulling back a little bit. Support comes at about 228. If we continue to sell off into the new year, that's probably where support could come in. Not this one's probably one of the Still best in a bad neighborhood, in my opinion. Take a look at the SMHs. You got a little back in that. You could get support in the SMHs at about 215-ish, but that would be it. And let's see, what else do we have? Okay. Okay, take a quick look at the big guys, AMD, Intel, NVIDIA. Got a little bit of a downside here. Not a lot of volume so far, though. Again, these tend to be hugely short already. You don't get a lot of volume off the top with these most of the times. NVIDIA, a little better. Probably things turning around for these companies a little quicker than I think a lot of people believe. But right now, probably the big problem is just far too many shorts for these things, maybe to even go any lower. Intel's down a little bit. Volume's not all that great. You do have two gaps, which would signal that you could get back down to the low 26s on that for risk reward. Let's see what else we wanted. Netflix in FLX. Starting to hear that there is some firing going on and some trimming of the fat. Actually looking fairly good. It's coming back into this gap lower. Unfortunately, not with much volume. 133 million shares on the gap down on April 20th. So you have a huge gap that you're chewing away on. Not much going on here, but probably a little bit of optimism over the last 3 days. We've talked many times about how there are 620 scripted television shows on the air and movies right now in Hollywood. And that's just far too many. Most people don't have a chance to see much. And the quality continues to suffer very, very much. I think the last big show to get panned again over the last few days, I want to say is Willow. I'm trying to remember Willow. Which streaming service is that on? I did see the original Willow, which is 1988, which is pretty good. The series is just getting slaughtered by fans of the original 1988 movie. We'll be back in a minute.
Sharpening your skills as an investor is like getting better at playing a musical instrument. You have to practice, sure, but you also need excellent instruction from experts. At TFNN, you'll get advice and guidance from the authority in technical market analysis. And it's not just dry, tedious text either. TFNN airs live financial content streamed live on TFNN.com and TFNN's YouTube channel with Tiger TV, live every market day from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern. For free. Each host is an experienced trader and gives their take on the market while taking calls and questions live from around the world. From the moment the market opens until the closing bell sounds, Tiger TV has 8 different shows with expert hosts to help you make the right moves with your money. Watch online at TFNN.com or on TFNN's YouTube channel and become the investor you were born to be. TFNN, educating investors.
The technology around us is changing every day. With so much happening, it can seem impossible to keep up with all the information. David White's investment newsletter, The Technology Insider, is designed to give you all the information you need to understand the technology that shapes today's markets and tomorrow's future. David White has made his living staying on the cutting edge of technology. His weekly newsletter will give you specific recommendations for value tech stocks, as well as entry prices, target prices, and stops to set for each trade. Dave delivers his weekly newsletters every Friday with updates throughout the week. You can get the Technology Insider at TFNN.com for only $37.50. Sign up for David's newsletter, The Technology Insider, and get an inside look at everything the technology sector has to offer. Try it risk-free today with our 30-day money-back guarantee. TFNN, educating investors.
Are China A-shares hot or not? If you trade China A-shares, now may be time to take a closer look. Trade CHAU or CHAD, Directions Daily CSI 300 China A-share Bull and Bear ETFs. China A-shares in either direction. Visit directioninvestments.com today. An investor should consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the Direction shares carefully before investing. The prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction shares. To obtain a prospectus or summary prospectus, please contact Direction shares at 866-476-7523. The prospectus or summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
This program is brought to you by Vista Gold, traded on the NYSE American and TSX under the symbol VGZ.
As we come back, I was talking about Willow, which is getting huge amounts of pans. Pretty good 1988 movie. It is on Disney Plus. I looked it up. But a few other things out there continuing to see pretty substandard quality stuff. And, you know, you kind of like that you've got at least two gaps higher in Disney, and maybe you get one more. But, I mean, getting toward the end of the year, it's hard to get too excited about people trying to plow into this pre the end of the year. But it doesn't look as bad as I thought it might before. Question from Ron about the XLE. So we'll take a look at that very quickly. Let's see. Well, big ugly candle. Again, I think everybody's figured out today what was actually in it. Kind of the old we got to pass it so we can find out what was in it on the Russian oil issues. That and weather patterns. You know, not a lot of juice out here. Again, I think a lot of people are probably missing the unintended consequences of artificially pushing down Russian oil prices for the moment. But these things will probably get a fairly decent snap back once we do find a low. It's hard to think that Russia at the moment is going to abide with lower prices, and will do everything they can to get around it. As we talked at the top of the show, the shadow fleet is getting absolutely enormous of crude and gasoline carriers. And once you turn this into something else other than crude, there are no restrictions in selling it. So there's a lot of people going to be moving this oil around the world. I think probably on the long term, you might look into companies that make oil tankers, because my guess is this is going to burn up a lot of those. And, of course, most of those that are in the shadow fleet now are already somewhere in the neighborhood of an average of 20 to 20, maybe 5 years old. Many of the ships at the moment will not pass new stringent standards on the engines that will be in them, and that may cause its own problem going forward. But may be interesting to take a look at companies making these tankers. And see what else we have. We'll go back to the markets already in progress. And so we're off 84 points on the S&P cash to 398, 398.7. So, 13 points under 4,000 if you live in Lutz out here. Again, volume not all that exciting, but it's not uncommon to see light volume the first couple of days off of one of these buying climaxes, which I think is what we got on Wednesday. And I think that just sets up a move to slowly sell off into Christmas. Just way too many people bullish. I actually wrote that in the newsletter this morning. Thought we talked about Intel a little bit. I think Intel has to come back here and retest this 2459 long term. You've got two gaps higher. Maybe you get a third before it comes back down there. But this is a company that continues to do stupid stuff and get their lunch eaten by the Taiwanese. I don't think much changes in this company until heads really roll. And everybody figures out that, yeah, we've got real problems, not just sort of problems. We got existential problems with Intel. Few new stuff. They are working with the kind of chiplet technology that AMD's been so successful with. They are pushing their new video cards, which are selling okay in the rest of the world, non-existent here in the United States, mostly in the Western countries, not, but selling a lot of the video cards in Europe. I mean, in Far East Europe and in Far East Asia, especially in China. People are buying them. They just need something cheap. But that's kind of it. 877-927-6648. I don't see a lot here at the moment. They're going to have to let some heads roll. Let's see, what else do we have out here? Taking a look at Metamucil. Okay. Man, were they really pushing the stock and flogging it last week. I figured they were selling into it. You gapped down hugely on the 27th of October. Did so on 232 million shares. You're just now coming back and filling that gap on Friday, 39 million, 40 million shares today, about 25. I think that a lot of people are short this. The squeeze may be over. You're probably looking for a big reversal day. This is not quite what I'm looking for, but I think that there is ample opportunity for this thing to see much lower, especially in the first part of the year. While a lot of narratives are going on with Twitter, I think most people are missing the giant 800-pound gorilla in the room, and that is the lawsuit from Texas with their laws and that coming to the Supreme Court probably in January, probably a ruling by May. And if it follows the judgment of the federal judge who wrote maybe one of the most outstanding pieces of analysis for that case, it's very hard to think that anybody is going to really rebut it that much. There's also a similar case coming from Florida. It has a few more problems. All it did was protect free speech for those running for office, and it was kind of thrown out to begin with, still being appealed, that everybody has free speech rights. So it was kind of a backhanded compliment on the law, saying that everybody deserves free speech. But as I said, all these companies are going to have to come to Jesus fairly quickly on this Texas lawsuit, which will probably, I would imagine, when it's affirmed by the Supreme Court, probably within weeks, you'll probably have 20 states pass a similar law. And I think at that point, the whole idea of you having a viewpoint that someone doesn't like AT&T, so you can't get a phone line, that's what it's going to be like. You're going to have actual free speech on these things, for good or bad. But I think maybe Twitter's way out there in front, these guys getting in front of a change in the law. We'll be back in a minute.
If you're looking for potential trading setups in the stock market, then Rocket Equities and Options Report is a newsletter you should try. Tommy O'Brien delivers options and equity trades when the markets present them, using a combination of fundamentals and technicals. Sign up for Rocket Equities and Options Report today with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to risk. For all the details and to start your subscription today, visit the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
You might think that if you want to be successful at trading in the stock market, you're going to need a crystal ball. After all, it's impossible to predict the future, right? Like any endeavor in life, before you decide it's impossible, get some advice from the experts. You might find that it's not so impossible after all. For daily market overviews that give you direction on the key indices, selective stocks, and commodities, subscribe to the Opening Call newsletter at TFNN.com. The Opening Call newsletter is written by Basil Chapman, creator of the trading methodology known as the Chapman Wave. The Chapman Wave up-down sequence gives you an edge in identifying price turns, finding the peaks and valleys in stock prices. Get the Opening Call newsletter by Basil Chapman in your inbox every day. First-time subscribers also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, let us know, and you'll get a full refund within 30 days of signing up. TFNN.com, educating investors.
Everything in the universe is governed by the Fibonacci sequence. This mathematical principle is responsible for everything from the most aesthetically pleasing artwork to patterns in the stock market. To stay on top of stock patterns you can take advantage of, sign up for the Fibonacci 24/7 newsletter at TFNN.com. When you subscribe, you'll get a weekly report from veteran day trader Larry Pesavento on stocks you need to pay attention to. And you can trust Larry's analysis. After all, he's got 45 years experience as a day trader. Larry will also provide daily charts, videos, and data on the key markets that he's tracking. Expect notifications from Larry on market movement you need to act on at any time. First-time subscribers also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, let us know and you'll get a full refund within 30 days of signing up. Subscribe to the Fibonacci 24/7 newsletter today. TFNN.com, educating investors.
TFNN has launched the Tiger's Den. Hosted at Discord, TFNN has been educating traders for more than 20 years with live programming hosted by a variety of professional traders during market hours. The Tiger's Den, available to all tigers and tigresses for just $1 for the year. There's no catch or added costs when you join our community of traders. Sign up today and become a part of this educational community of traders. Just visit the front page of TFNN.com.
Catch Tom O'Brien, professional trader and educator, founder of TFNN. Also, a special guest on CNBC. Tom will bisect and dissect the markets. The Tom O'Brien Show, next on TFNN.
And Sal sends an email asking you about CRM and what's going on there. They've lost their second big executive, and I think Mark Benioff is probably at the point now where when Microsoft had its CFO or a CEO that just didn't perform, you can only point the fingers at other folks for so long. And I think it really needs to be pointed at Benioff now. They lost one today. He was in the acquisition for Slack. And maybe it was Friday. Can't remember now. And, of course, they lost one last week. And some people say he was fired. Some people say that they got in an argument. But my guess is that a lot of times when as they say, the fish rots at the head. You want to fire as many people and maybe keep that big salary coming for just a little longer. I don't think it's going to happen. As we said, these guys tried a little different strategy than Amazon and Microsoft and Google with the big cloud services. And that idea was to make more money on specialized software instead of lower-priced hosting for their cloud services. and why they have some people willing to pay a lot more for very certain things that they have that are tailored. Microsoft's done an exceptional job of skimming a lot of those customers away at prices that are, when you think about how these guys pay for servers by the hour, $100, $150. If you can do the same thing for $100, I mean that every 50, every hour another $50 really matters. Anyway, Salesforce, I'd look for maybe buying this when Mark Benioff leaves, one way or the other. Sell when you can, not when you have to. We shall see you tomorrow.
Building wealth trading in the stock market seems impossible.